Somebody specifically asked me to review the show Them. This is going to be a review of episode 1 because I'm not yet sure if I'm going to continue. Please bear in mind that this video is based on my opinion on the show and also based on my observation of similar works from before. I tend to speak emphatically since I've trained myself to speak in public, but I'm not butthurt about anything. I'm merely saying my opinion. Some people might take offense to that, and if you're easily triggered over stuff like that or topics like this, such as the plot for the show Them, which is heavily based on ethnic tensions, then this video is probably not for you.
Oh, I wish I was back there with the...
Somebody asked me to review the Amazon original Them. The show everyone thought was made by Jordan Peele because the main plot is about a black family being haunted, harassed, and mentally assailed in a world where every single Caucasian person is psychotic. But it's not by Jordan Peele. The story opens with a mother and her toddler boy in their rural home. The father and her 2 daughters are away somewhere on a car ride. She's doing her house chores until she's interrupted by her dog barking at the door. When he is let outside, he goes out to greet this crazy lady on her property just waltzing around. Of course, the crazy psychotic lady's white. This vitriolic nutjob seems to have a very threatening air about her. And aside from this show being what it is, there is heavy implication that the reason for this woman harassing this housewife is because she's dark-skinned.
I hear the gentle voices calling old Black Joe.
She starts singing a weird-ass song about old Black Joe, which has some heavy racial undertones to it, and then the crazy woman says she wants the housewife's baby. We see Sarge coming over the bend, kind of escorting a group of men coming towards the house. Meanwhile, the crazy woman is telling the housewife to give her baby to the crazy woman, because she wants him. Then, as if the main character was having a flashback, she's now in a car with her husband and their 2 daughters, minus the baby, meaning that something happened to him. We know something happened to him because later we see the mother kind of mourning over a little box with his blanket in it. Anyway, they came from a neighborhood where these Caucasian people didn't want them there, and now they're moving to another neighborhood where Caucasian people don't want them there. The father doesn't want to make the wife uncomfortable, but in his mind, they shouldn't have to just go because people don't want them living there because they're prejudiced. And he really had no idea how crazy the people were going to be there. Well, what basically happens is that the white housewife ladies are very upset that their new neighbors are black, and they try to do everything in their power to make them move. There's this one crazy lady who's a leader of all the others, and she's always that weird-ass character in everything she plays in. I don't know what it is. The whole plot of the pilot seems to be us following along this family as they're being mentally harassed by these barbaric neighbors who in the end conspire to kill the family dog as a start to try and run the black family out of the home. We don't exactly know what's going on because just like Jordan Peele style, there's some supernatural shit going on too, where there are apparently ghosts or someone's going crazy and you have no idea what's going on. And that's basically it. That's the whole plot. After seeing the pet dog dead or realizing the pet dog is dead, of course the woman loses her shit. The mom goes outside the house and basically threatens all of the neighbors with a firearm, which is, you know, I get where she's coming from because I want to kill him too, but doesn't make you look too good. And apparently the wife has had a history of mental issues, possibly stemming from the loss of her child. Yeah, so, but after that whole dog dying thing and this whole thing, I decided to check out. Now, I will say this, the show is beautifully shot. If I keep saying movie for some reason, please forgive me, it's a mistake, and it's actually a compliment because the show is shot in a way that I forget I'm watching a show. It's cinematography, the feel, the atmospheric tension is very well done. This person who directed this and the creators behind this definitely have an air and a feel for horror and tension. Sometimes agonizingly so, because sometimes the tension goes on so long, I actually have a headache now from all of this. There is nothing wrong with this show at all in terms of the cinematography, the music choices. It's just the plot. The plot is something that I have seen done to death already. And I don't understand why when there's an all-black cast, it has to be all the white people are absolutely crazy. And it's almost like they're these demonic, inhuman beings, like the Titans from AOT, that are just void of any humanity. And of course, when people have hatred in their heart to that degree, no matter what color they are, that is what it seems like. And of course, to the people experiencing this, that's how they probably would see it too. But maybe it's the stylistic choice of how this guy did it. Like, I've seen this already. Why do I want to see the same thing over and over again exactly the same? Get Out was an interesting premise because of the way that it was shot. It was something I've never seen done before. This kind of Twilight Zone-ish thing where there's this couple and it turns out the woman's crazy and they want to have the bodies of black people because they're more biologically athletic. At least that's what I got from the plot. And then you have Us, which is a family who gets hunted by other versions of themselves. That was some weird Twilight shit, and I like that. Those were done well. I think Get Out was a much better movie. That movie was excellently done. It's not that I mind the story being this, but it's just the way it's done. Lovecraft Country, I did fall off from that show after a while because I don't know if it was the acting, the dialogue, or maybe just an amalgamation of all those things. But the only behavior that I believed when it came to the hatred and prejudice of people from their skin color was the sheriff. Everybody else was just so overblown. Not saying that shit didn't happen back then. It did. Shit still happens today from every side of the coin. You have Asian people who are prejudiced against black people prejudiced against Asian people, black people prejudiced against white people prejudiced against black people. It's not just a one race thing that's doing it. However, I find that with a lot of these styles, and it seems like Jordan Peele is kind of the person who kind of set the marker for that, and I get it, he's telling it from his point of view. That's all that it's about. As a black reviewer described it, not that it's bad to tell stories like this, but it's possible to entertain the possibility that black people don't always want to watch movies or shows like this. That when you have an all-black cast, it's more than just, oh my god, crazy white people psychotic chasing us. We're being haunted by crazy white people. Like, there's a way to tell the story. If you're gonna do that plot, do it a little differently. Now, where I will say someone did it differently was Fargo. The episode with Fargo, or the season with Fargo with Chris Rock, that was excellently done. I did actually enjoy that. But another thing that might not be working in this show's favor is that it seems like a blatant copycat of Jordan Peele's work. For all we know, he probably was inspired by Jordan Peele's work, but it's kind of like those things, like the issue that I had with Fallen Kingdom. You can be inspired by something or pay homage to something, or it just be a very weird coincidence. But when the movie that you're making doesn't seem to stand on its own, or the TV show doesn't seem to stand on its own, because it seems like you're blatantly copying off of something else, it starts to feel like, okay, what new are we experiencing here, except for it just being in a TV series format? Now, you know what would have been a little bit more innovative is if white people were just normal. There were some prejudiced ones, and there were some that were kind of closet prejudice, where they're not visibly like psycho. Like in some of these scenes where they're just standing there looking like freaking weird. They look and they keep walking. But most people are actually normal ass people who don't really care. They have their own problems to deal with. And they're curious because they're not used to having black neighbors. But most of them are nice. And the black neighbors actually go over to the white neighbors because they're the bigger people. And they said, hey, we baked you a pie. Just wanted to say hello. And this opens up the white neighbors and like, wow, why was I so squirrely about these people? People are always squirrely about things they don't know or understand. It's called ignorance. So then they're friends, and the black neighbors and the white neighbors are happy, their kids play together, but then one white person is a manipulator, and throughout the whole series, you have this one person starting to either supernaturally or manipulatively turn all the other white people against the black people. See, that's something I haven't seen done before. But it's just like, oh no, all the cream-skinned people are immediately these ravenous Arctic foxes or leopards that just want to eat the chocolate people because they're so damn fucking delicious. Again, if I hadn't already seen show after show about this and movie after movie about this, I might have watched this and been like, wow, Jesus Christ, this was interesting, but I've already seen this. And it's not done differently except for the TV format. That being said, the acting skills of the kids, especially the little girl and the mother, are actually well done. Kudos to the father trying to hold everything together and be strong for his family, and taking one for the team when he decided to go and live amongst people that obviously don't want him there. One of the nasty women in their houses was like, well, why do they move to some place where they know they're not wanted? Fair enough. Usually people will move to places that are more accepting, but the father could not have known that these people were assholes. Maybe he should have done his research. I know, story time, you know how we do here. But when my mother moved to the States, she had to stay with some distant family members. And long story short, the woman she stayed with that she kind of grew up with was always jealous of her. She had a daughter and my mom had me. And there were certain things that this woman started to do that made my mom very concerned for my safety. I think I was like 2 at the time. This is why she had to send me back to my country to live with my my father because she was like, okay, this woman obviously does not like that I'm here, and I don't like the way that she's looking at my child. Then one day, my mom came in from outside, and this woman, her distant relative, was bathing me and her daughter, the woman's daughter. And I screamed, and my mom knows what my scream sounds like. So she runs to the bathroom, and she asks the woman, what happened to her? What happened to Allie? And the woman is just like, oh, she's just being a brat. And then I said, in my little teeny voice, I don't like you, with this face just looking at this woman. And my mom is like, that's not normal because my baby loves everybody. My little girl gets along with everybody. Everybody loves my little girl and she loves everyone. So if this one bitch is eliciting this reaction from my child, something is fucking wrong. And from that, my mom was like, I don't really feel comfortable having my fucking 2-year-old around this woman, especially when I have to go to work. So yeah, let me send her back to my country to stay with her father. And that's what she did. And that's why my mom wasn't in my life for like 8 years, except for when I had to go visit for like a few days or for holidays. So my dad basically raised me during that time. But my mom was smart enough to know that she couldn't get out of her situation. It's not like she directly moved there because she had other choices and chose to move there. She really didn't have anything when she came up to the country. So she had no choice at the time. But she did not want me to be in that situation. That was the one thing she could control. That being said, I understand where this father is coming from, but in this situation, if you know that there are crazy ass people or it's a place that specifically doesn't want you for whatever reason, they're prejudiced, they're disgusting people, and they're just nasty. They made it explicitly clear, hey, we don't want such and such people around.
Excuse me, but what is this?
Oh, that's nothing to be concerned about.
No persons of Negro blood? You might have read this over the phone and saved us a few thousand miles.
It's like I told you, Mr. Emery. Covenants are no longer legally enforceable.
You knew.
Don't go there, because the father did know. We see later on in the episode that the paperwork actually did say explicitly that this little coven didn't want people of dark skin in there. Not saying that's right, but I'd have been like, okay, I don't want to come to this whole wasp nest. Let me stay the fuck out here, because there are other decent people who don't care. If it had just been him and his wife, I would have been like, okay, whatever. But being that they just came from a situation like that, which is the implication, why would you put your wife and kids back in the same situation you just came from with other crazy ass people where you came from? I think that's pride and a little bit of stupidity on the father's part. Even the mother was mad at him. So now, while you're gone to work and you don't have to deal with the mental taxation of these crazy people, the mother has to stay there, and when the kids come home, they have to deal with that as well. So that part made me kind of upset. And I'm sorry, I get that the father's trying to fit in, but he's putting his family in danger. And it feels like the mother is the only person who's concerned with the safety of her family, especially considering they just lost a child. Now again, I didn't watch the second episode or further out. A lot of people said they bowed out by episode 5. A lot of people fell off of this show, and I was just like, do I really want to sit down and watch this? Like, I'm not really feeling it. Like, maybe if it was a movie, I'd have been more like, okay, sure, why not? But this whole little undertone thing, like if it's a slavery thing, I don't mind because it's more realistic, I think, because you're only seeing the people who are the overseers. Like Django, I feel like that was more realistic than shows like this. Now, to be fair, it is a horror, so I get that there's gonna be supernatural elements. I guess I'm just sick of seeing that, because it's like, holy shit, crazy ass white people out there we gotta be afraid of. Holy shit, crazy ass dead white people inside our house we gotta be afraid of. And I'm like, oh my god, like, come on, dude, stop. So if I were to rate this just on the episode by itself, without me being biased towards liking the plot or anything, I would say, a B+. It was well done. It's just, I'm tired of seeing it, if that makes any sense. So you guys asked me to review it. That's as far as I'm gonna go. I actually had my partner come and sit down and scrub through the part where the dog was dead, because I just, I couldn't. And I had to mentally prepare myself. And then I went back after I was all, whoo, like totally fine, and kept telling myself, it's makeup art. It's makeup art. It's not real. And then I saw the dog again, and I'm like, okay. Without all the music and the kids crying and all of that. And I'm like, oh, it's clearly a stuffed animal. Clearly. When your emotions are all out of whack, things look more real than they actually are. But that part just messed me up. That whole thing. I was spending like 2.5 hours. Okay, not 2.5. Like an hour and 50 minutes. Just researching the dog, the actual dog in the movie. Because it helps when I see the dog in real life to kind of separate. I don't know why. With humans, we don't do that. You know, like we don't care. Like, oh my god, the human died. How sucky, you know? Dog dies, your entire existence is being questioned. Anyway, should you go watch this? if you dig that sort of plot, I mean, the only people I kind of like as the main characters is the father and the youngest little girl. The mother, for some reason, I don't know what is going on with her. I mean, I get that she's being tortured mentally, but at that point, I mean, the Stockholm Syndrome is real. Maybe it's just my personality, but when people are mean to me in real life and I can't help it and I can't get away from the situation, sometimes I go out of my way to make friends with that person, to kill them with kindness. That's what I would do, because most of the time it's just that they don't know me. It's easy to otherify somebody if they don't know anything about you. If I was in that situation and I really couldn't help it and I realized these people were nuts because they were just trying to drive me out, I would walk up to them and I would talk to them and they would give me stink eyes and I would just keep talking to them like I don't even see what they're doing. I would bake them a cake. I would bake them dinner. I would mow their lawn for them. Like, yeah, it sounds stupid and you're like, well, you're just fessing up to the white people. Maybe so, but somebody has to be the bigger person at some point. Not saying she should have done that because she doesn't know these people, but that's just how I am. It's funny, those same people who bullied me would all come back later on and tell me that they were jealous of me, that they liked me. I'm like, what the fuck? So you did all of that because you had a crush on me or you were jealous of me? Really, bro? But every single one of them who did that apologized to me. Every single one of them. And they basically confessed, you know, it's because I made them feel insecure. And I'm like, look at that. You would go out of your way to hurt someone because they made you feel insecure even though you guys were rich and I was middle class. But just goes to show you. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.